Hi, hello and welcome back to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and our journey through the history of Formula 1 continues today with the third round of the 1962 season, the Belgian Grand Prix. It was held on the 17th of June, it had 26 entries, 19 of them took part in the race with 8 having to retire. The race consisted of 32 laps completed in 2 hours, 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Graham Hill started the race from pole with Bruce McLaren in second, Trevor Taylor in third, Phil Hill fourth, Ireland fifth and May Rees started from sixth. After an outstanding drive, Jim Clark won the Belgian Grand Prix from Graham Hill, who finished second, 44.1 seconds behind Clark. Phil Hill ended the race in third, 2 minutes 6.5 seconds behind the leader. Ricardo Rodriguez came home in fourth, he was 2 minutes 6.6 seconds down. John Surtees crossed the line in fifth, he was 1 lap down, and Brabham rounded off the top 6, he was 2 laps adrift. Jim Clark also posted the fastest lap of the race, a 3 minute 55.6 second lap. Here we are once again at the scenic Spa-Francorchamps circuit, where a lap starts off with a short run down the hill, then up through Eau Rouge. It doesn't look like much, but it is a very tricky corner to get right. From here we move on into Le Combe, a medium speed left-hander. This corner has a bit of a bank, allowing you to go slightly faster than you would expect. From here the track opens up until we reach Malmedy, a very tricky left-right chicane. The second half of the chicane is completely blind, so you got to be very careful. This takes us onto the longest straight on the circuit, the Masta Straight, that ends with the Masta Kink, a high-speed right-hander. Eventually we come into Stavelot, a long right-hander that tightens towards the exit, so make sure to adjust your speed accordingly. The track opens up once more until we reach Blanchimont, a fast left-hander. Be careful as you might need to lift coming through here. Finally we come into the slowest corner of the track, Le Source. Brake hard just before the billboards, turn hard right, and be careful not to use too much power coming out of the corner. But that brings us around onto the main straight, and that is a lap around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. And here we are in qualifying, coming through Malmedy, where I go a bit wide, touch the outside of the track there, which flips the car upside down, and I pretty much decided to end the session after this because, well, in real life you really wouldn't continue doing anything after something like that, so that's the end of the session without even posting a qualifying time, unfortunately, but hey. And here we have the previous Belgian Grand Prix winners. As we have a look at the grid lineup, we have John Surtees on pole with Joe Siffert in second, Jim Clark third, fourth is Graham Hill, fifth is Phil Hill, followed by Bruce McLaren rounding off the top 6. Then we have Richie Ginther in 7th, Dan Gurney is 8th, 9th is Tony Max, followed by De Beaufort in 10th, and then in 11th we have Giancarlo Baghetti, followed by Joe Bonnier in 12th in his Porsche. In 13th we have Innes Ireland, followed by Willie May Rees in 14th, 15th is Lorenzo Bandini, then we have Ricardo Rodriguez in 16th, 17th Trevor Taylor, Maston Gregory 18th, and bringing up the rear we have Jackie Lewis in 19th and Andy Higgs in 20th. So that is the grid lineup for the 1962 Belgian Grand Prix. I'm hoping for a good race. We haven't been able to finish a race yet this season. We had an engine failure both at the Dutch and Monaco Grand Prix, and we are off with a very delayed response on my part. I'm not quite sure why, but it took me about a second before I realized that I should probably get going. As we come up through Eau Rouge, we are looking at Jackie Lewis. Hopefully we can get around him and then get around a few other people, and there we go. We are now in 19th, chasing after Lorenzo Bandini, who is right in front of us. There's another Ferrari in front of him, and then I think there's a Lotus as we now approach Le Combe here, and we are right behind Trevor Taylor now. Hopefully we can overtake him as well. We go wide, we let the car slide wide, and we are through and up in 18th, so gained a couple of positions there in the first few corners, so hopefully we can continue to make our way up the field. As we have another look at the start here, again a very delayed response on my end. I'm not sure what I was doing, why it took me a second longer than anyone else to respond, but it took. I probably wasn't paying attention to anything, so that's a very, very high probability, as we see there, overtaking Jackie Lewis as we crest the hill and now chasing after everyone else. A little bit later on, I managed to overtake Lorenzo Bandini, as I'm now looking at Ricardo Rodriguez. Hopefully we can overtake him as well soon enough. However, later on, as I was trying to overtake Ricardo Rodriguez, I wasn't really paying attention. I dipped my wheels off the track there. That slowed me down, allowing Lorenzo Bandini to get in front of me. But then coming through Stavolo, I overtake De Buforte. I also wanted to overtake Gregory, but he kind of put his car right in front of me, so I couldn't really do that. However, a little bit later on, I tried again. He seemed to be slow, but for some reason he sped up again, or somehow he sped up again. And now we are coming around to finish lap 1, and Lorenzo Bandini manages to overtake me through La Source there. But I keep very close to him, and I'm hoping to overtake him. And indeed we do. Coming up through Eau Rouge, I overtake Bandini and Gregory as well, so we are now in 15th. That's pretty okay. Now chasing after Ireland. However, Bandini manages to overtake me once again, coming out of the right-hander here, and I'm now very, very close to Ireland. Hopefully we can overtake him. Yes, he brakes a bit coming into the corner, and that allows us to get back into 15th and right back on Lorenzo Bandini once again. Hopefully, I say hopefully a lot. Anyway, and we move on to later on on lap 2, and Jim Clark is very slow, and we managed to slip past him quite easily. So we are now in 14th, chasing after Joe Siffert. Lap 3 now, and Joe Siffert has had something with his car and is out of the Belgian Grand Prix. I'm thinking we'll have a replay. Yes, we have. Here is Siffert in his red car, loses control of it, drives it up that little hill, and it falls off the world. And well, he didn't retire, but he is kind of technically retired. So we now move on to lap 4 here, chasing after Ricardo Rodriguez. We move up into 12 as Gurney went into the pits, and Clark has retired. Here is Clark. He apparently has some problems with his brakes, loses control of his car, drives into the embankment there, the dirt embankment, and well, stops his car, and he is out. As we now move further into lap 4, we've just overtaken Graham Hill for 11th place, so we are moving up quite easily. And a little bit later on lap 4, we catch up to Tony Maggs, and we move up into 10th now, so doing pretty well. We are in top 10, so that's pretty nice. Hopefully we can get a little bit higher in the standings. And here we are coming around to finish lap 4, and Bruce McLaren is pulling into the pits, so we move up into 9th, which is kind of good news for us. And here is a replay of Bruce McLaren coming into the pits. Apparently he had a problem with his gearbox, so he is definitely out of the race. Sad for him, but that's good for us because we gained another position. And on lap 5, there's John Sturdy. We just saw John Sturdy at the side of the track. He's retired, and we move up into 8th. So 2 spots below the points. That's very, very good. And here is a replay of John Sturdy. He's not quite sure what's happening, but it looks like he loses control of his car, struggles to control it, and well, I'm guessing he kind of damaged maybe his suspension or something. I'm not quite sure, but he does pull to the side and retires from the race. So that's another retirement to add to the relatively short list here. And we now move on to lap 9 as Dan Gurney, after being going into the pits, finally catches up to us. So he had quite a bit of catching up to do, but he managed to. And now coming around to finish lap 9, Graham Hill manages to overtake me through the source on the outside, so very well done to him. However, I managed to get a better exit and keep better position, speed, and managed to overtake him. However, as we start lap 11, the final lap of the race, my engine once again gives up, and well, I pull to the side, and that's the end of the Belgian Grand Prix for us once again. And it was going so well. I mean, here is a replay of that coming up through Eau Rouge, Graham Hill right behind me. It was really going very well up until this point. I mean, this is the farthest we've ever we've got in a race this season. But it looks like on the final lap my engine decided to finally give up, and well, we've just looked at the replay. Quite sad. I was quite bummed out about that, and here is a replay of Maston Gregory, who has a suspension problem. Once again, he is on the final lap as well here, and he enters the right-hander and then suddenly loses control of his car. He stops it, and he is also out of the Grand Prix. And here is a replay of Trevor Taylor in his Lotus coming through Stavelot. We saw a bit of fire coming out of the engine, and there it is, more smoke and fire. He pulls to the side, and he is also out. So 3 retirements on the very final lap of the race, which is quite interesting. You don't expect to see something like that, but it happened. So that's the unfortunate end of our race once again. Not happy about it at all. And here's a replay of Lorenzo Bandini coming around to finish his race. He's in second. I know it's kind of out of sync, but he posted the fastest lap as soon as he finished his race. Yeah. Anyway, and here is a replay of Phil Hill coming around to win the 1962 Belgian Grand Prix. Again, I know these last 2 replays are not in chronological order, but I couldn't. It would have been a bit weirder to do it properly, I guess. I don't know what went through my mind when I did this, but there you go. And here we have the race results. Despite the fact that we have retired, we actually did complete 90% of race distance, so we do. Well, the last 3 people who retired did actually complete 90% of race distance, so we do classify as finishers, which means that there were only about 4 people who retired actually. But yeah, once again another disappointing result due to, well, the retirement at the end there. So, well, at least we've had some improvements. It looks like the engine has been improved and it's slightly more reliable than it used to be, but it needs to be even more reliable. But anyway, here are the career statistics, and this was Andy's 105th Grand Prix. His best start is from first, has 8 pole positions, has set 16 fastest laps. His best finishes in first, has completed 72 races, 57 of them in the points, has won 35 Grand Prix, 4 at the Indianapolis 500, 6 in Monaco, has 7 championships under his belt, has scored a total of 388 points, has retired 33 times, has experienced 2,352 out of 2,871 laps, has 6 bronze trophies, 9 silver trophies, 35 gold trophies, and as an extension 35 podiums. And here is a quick look at the championship standings. Bruce McLaren is still in the lead with Phil Hill in second, Jim Clark third, 4th is Lorenzo Bandini, 5th Giancarlo Baghetti, Dan Gurney 6th. The last person to score points is Ricardo Rodriguez down in 13th. We are down in 19th, and Richie Ginther is bringing up the bottom of the standings. So those are the driver standings. Before we move on to the constructors, there's one interesting thing I want to bring up, and that's the fact that Ricardo Rodriguez looks like scored his first points here in Belgium, which he actually did in real life as well, although in real life he finished a little bit higher than 6th. But anyway, let's move on to the constructors now, and here we see Cooper leading the constructors championship with Ferrari now in second, Team Lotus 3rd, Porsche 4th, 5th are Bowmaker Yeoman, Ecori Galois in 6th. The last team to score points is Scuderia Filippinetti with our team Brabham Racing down in 11th. So that was the Belgian Grand Prix. Once again, another disappointing race for Andy Higgs. This was actually even more disappointing than the previous 2 races because, well, actually we did start the final lap of the race. We were on lap 11 out of 11 and, well, finishing the race was really just an arm length away, so having an engine failure right on the final lap wasn't very encouraging. So I'm not very sure what's happening with our Coventry Climax engine, because we are not the only ones using that engine, and yet everyone else who's using it seems to have no problems as I do, or at least not as many problems. But anyway, our next race is the French Grand Prix. We are returning to Rouen after a very long time. The last time we've raced there was in 1954, I believe, so it's going to be interesting to see how these cars perform there. But yeah, that is the end of the Belgian Grand Prix. Once again, quite disappointing results here. Not much more to say about that. So don't forget to vote for next season's team, link is in the description. I also have a second channel where I will be playing all sorts of different games. At the moment I'm doing a playthrough of Diablo 2 and Homefront, so if you're interested in any of those games, there will be a link in the description to my second channel as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp!